Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk about the PTSD I gave my family over my behavior and ultimately rebuilding their trust. So when I was first out there, I've talked about that I was alcoholically drinking after the trauma, and I was still going out with my friends at that time. And there were multiple experiences my parents and my baby sister had where they had to come scoop me up from the streets of Dallas. There was one time where I was out with my friends at a bar, and I lived about 45 minutes away from the bar, and everybody decided to leave at midnight, and we're getting in the car, and bars down in Dallas didn't close till 2 a.m. So I quite literally ran off from them when they were getting in the car because I wasn't ready to stop drinking. And ultimately, my parents had to come get me because my friends were unable to find me. When I was calling them at 3 o'clock in the morning to come pick me up, and they would wake up my baby sister to come with them to make sure that they could find me. And I have other experiences where I was at a festival and it was at night. It wasn't late at night, probably around like 8 o'clock at night, but it was dark outside and somebody was hitting on me. Now, again, this is after I was roofied, and I was very sensitive to those kind of instances. I just didn't feel safe. So I walked away from the festival, walked a mile down in the dark, down one of the main streets, and ultimately ended up sitting under a Bank of America ATM that was a single ATM in the parking lot under the spotlight that it offered. And I had to again have them come and pick me up. So all of these experiences, my very first time, I created huge amounts of fear in them. The second time that I was out there, I was lying profusely. My mother point blank asked me at one point if I had begun drinking again, and I said no. Yet the vodka bottles that they had in their bar were no longer vodka, they were water because they were the same color, and I was drinking the vodka. And I've shared before the experience where I called the cops on my parents because my mother knew I was on something, but I guess I didn't look that way to the cops and they gave me back my keys. So coming back in the rooms and working on getting sober, it was challenging my very first year because I had to rebuild that trust, and I had to put one foot in front of the other. I had to stay down and do what was suggested of me and do the work. But I was about 5 months sober, and that was when I was drug tested twice, where my parents, I had an open rule with them, they could do so. Both were negative, but I was actually batshit crazy because I was in the middle of writing my 4-step, and it was very disturbing to me to look at my past and dig all of that up. And I remember being really angry. My first year was hard, and I was really ticked off. Like, can't they see what I'm doing? Can't they see how hard I'm trying? Since then, based on, I can now reflect where I understand where they're coming from. When I was 5 years sober, my mother shared with me, I had been talking with them on a daily basis, and there's a couple days that I missed because life on life's terms, I was super busy. And when I finally connected with her, she shared that she was afraid I began drinking again. Or at 10 years sober, when I was supporting the person who was going through a mental health crisis and keeping them from unaliving themselves on a daily basis. I was very honest with my family on my feelings and how tough that was, but my sister shared with me about a year later that they were afraid I was gonna drink. So collectively, I have rebuilt their trust these days by doing trustworthy actions and letting my feet do the work. And again, when I first got sober, my words were hollow. They meant absolutely nothing, understandably. These days, it tends to be bigger blips where they get in fear. But ultimately, I have regained their trust these days. They know that I'm going to do the next best action. They know that I'm working a program really hard, and I'm very grateful for that. It took time for them to come around, understandably, very understandably, but I'm glad these days I've regained their trust. So thanks.